Around live.
Are we live? Shall I?
Yes, sir.
Hello, friends. My name is Sriram. I've been teaching the aspirants going for the civil services examination for the last about 3 decades. I uh, am a part of the team that takes up general studies coaching for the aspirants. As you know, general studies is composed of so many subjects. I'm going to talk about all that. I'm told that my mandate is to address the candidates who are completely new to the process. They are freshers. Therefore, I thought I'll build it up from basics. As you know, it's a three-stage process. The entire exam structure consists of 3 stages. One, the preliminary, next is main, the third is interview. We'll not talk of interview for the time being. We'll confine ourselves to the prelim because prelim is the biggest challenge. After that, I don't think main examination also compares with the prelim in terms of the complexity and the challenge part of it. Therefore, let's talk about the prelim first. Let's talk about the main examination next. Preliminary examination consists of multiple choice questions in paper 1. Paper 1 is the lifeline. You need to clear paper 1 fully. That is what decides where you go, whether you'll clear the exam or not. Paper 2 is a qualifier. You could call it a dummy exam almost. It requires 1/3 of the marks to get your paper 1 corrected. Paper 1 requires all the hard work, all the memory, all the analytical powers, and all the information that you can marshal. What's there in paper 1? The paper that matters. In paper 1, going by the syllabus, you have so many components. You got the constitution, you got the polity, you got economics in general, you got Indian economy, and who knows, maybe there is a bit of American economy also, American monetary policy, a little bit of Venezuela, what have you. You have economy, Indian economy largely, conceptual economics, not excluding rest of economics, global, regional, continental. And you've got ancient, medieval, modern history. And you also have geography, environment, and ecology. You got a bit of biology, you got some physical sciences. And of late, there's been a lot of emphasis on national and international affairs. So altogether, you have 100 questions. Each carries 2 marks, and then together it totals to 200 marks, of which this year exam is supposed to be slightly difficult compared to last year, but easier than the year before. And therefore, if you can get about, say, 110 marks, yes, this year you are likely to go for the main examination. So that looks a little too simple. 110 out of 200 in a country where the education system is driven by 100%, 99%, 98%. But UPSC civil services is a different ball game altogether. Here you have to earn every mark the hardest way. So let's see how you will next year. Assuming that it's as difficult as last year, you will have to get 116 or so marks to be able to go for the main examination. How will you get 115, 116? Let's see. If you break down the weightage of each component of the general studies paper 1 at the preliminary level, following is roughly the component and the weight it carries. Indian polity this year has been the predominant portion. It got you almost 25. Constitution plus principles of politics, the systems of politics, and so on. Indian economy must have got you about 12 to 15. You have got about 15 from Indian history. That adds up to about 50 questions altogether from these 3. And then you've got environment ecology about 10, national affairs about 15, international could be up to about 10, science and technology, miscellany, that accounts for the rest of the 50. So together you got the 100. Now, you will all be desperately interested in how to get the requisite mark. The requisite mark is a function of, as I already alluded to it, lot of hard work. But hard work in itself may not take you too far, certainly not to a level that is required. Hard work, which is unguided, requires all the luck in the world to get to the target. Therefore, hard work in the right direction. You should be a guided missile in the right direction. Right direction means what to study you should know, what not to study you should know, where to study from you should know, how to study you should know, because UPSC has never compromised on conceptual clarity, it never compromised on the attitudinal rigor, it never compromised on sustenance of an established pattern. So years come, papers come, exams come and go, but UPSC is an institution that goes on. So if you go by the nature of the exam over the last many decades, it has remained almost constant. In the sense, what an aspirant, what a civil servant is required to know has remained the same, because it's not an institution which is another institution. It is an institution that keeps the country going. It can't keep changing as other institutions can afford to. Therefore, if you take the constitution and the questions that have come over the last 2-3 decades, they have been the same. It's almost the same. Fundamental rights, directive principles, president, parliament, judiciary, local self-government, election commission, federalism. These are the chapters from where the examiner is inclined to pick up questions and ask you. But he has all the time in the world to ask you very simple looking but deceptively simple questions that requires mastery over the concepts, mastery over what the constitution verbatim says. If somebody tells you read NCERT, you will be through, he is only encouraging you. If somebody tells you the game is much more than the NCERT, he is your well-wisher, because you have to read much more than the NCERT. Similarly, take economics, the principles of economics. Where is the standard source? There is none. You have to take it from the newspapers. You have to take it from various macro books. You have to search around on the internet. Therefore, person who is a perfectionist, a person who wants to get to the bottom of the concepts, a person who is a budding policy maker, Indian economics is cut for such an aspirant. And is it very difficult? Difficulty is relative. The more the aspiration, the more the inspiration, the more the perspiration, the less the difficulty. So difficulty, what is difficult for one is very exciting for another person. So we should not peg it to any level of difficulty. Similarly, take history. History is a story well taught by a person. History is such a boring sequence of events without any connecting thread if it is not taught by a person who is knowledgeable, who is passionate, who is who is a teacher, in one word. So similarly, current affairs, if you take, every day, if you read the newspaper, it is once again an ocean. Cover to cover, there are about 16 to 18 pages in a newspaper, and the multitude of dimensions they cover. How much should you read? How much should you not read? What is toxic? What is friendly? For you to be able to understand that, it requires enormous quality of guidance for you. Therefore, whichever paper you read, we have a lot of newspapers in the country. We are a very rich country in terms of opinion, in terms of authentic opinion, etc. But what will you read? What will you not read? What is interesting may not be relevant at all. What is so quote unquote boring may be the very important for the examination. So for you to be able to sift the wheat from the chaff, that is where your genius lies, or if I can put it simply, your smartness lies. And so on and so forth. International affairs. There are so many things happening in so many countries all around us at the same time. What is important? What is not? Our Prime Minister has been making visits to Russia, Portugal, Netherlands, America, Israel. So many countries he is visiting. And in each country, there are so many agreements signed. The strategic importance of our relation is also to be understood. So, how will you go about all this? You have to sit down, study very hard, and depending upon authentic guidance, only then can I expect you to be on top of this examination. Similarly, Parliament is meeting from today. The monsoon session has started. About 40 odd bills are pending in Rajya Sabha, 20 odd bills are pending in Lok Sabha. How many will you read? How many are avoidable? How many you have to understand only at the headline level? How many you have to go into the depth? All this you need to go into, and it is a very laborious process. How many registers you will keep, how many files you will keep, all this is a very painstaking process, and unaccompanied by quality guidance, your efforts will have to be trebled and quadrupled as well, and not with any sense of certainty. And therefore, this is how preliminary conceptual clarity is picked up. And remember, in the preliminary, what you know, if you don't know very clearly, it may turn out to be your liability as well. Because in a question that would have fetched you 2 marks, if you get it wrong for any reason which is superficial, you will accumulate 1/3 of negative mark rather than getting full marks for the question. Therefore, your concepts have to be very, very good, and what is good also you have to be very clear. And that is how you can master the game of the preliminary exam. Then comes the main examination, which consists of 5 papers. One is general essay, and you've got 4 general studies papers. General studies is 4 papers in which you have to get all that you have studied in the prelim back again on your table, and also much more. You have ethics integrity, a paper consisting of 250 marks, and that is one area UPSC has introduced in the last 4 years, since 2013. Before then, there is no such paper, and this paper requires all your intellectual integrity, academic maturity, and what not, and enormous knowledge of the policy and enormous attitudinal correctness, and that carries 250 marks. You have global history in addition to the history you already studied at the prelim level. You got social issues, you got science and technology, for example, the genetically modified organisms, for example, the fusion reactors, the fission reactors, also so many aspects related to climate science, you have ozone, whatnot. Everyone knows all these topics, they're all there, but what is required is a depth to which you have to go and a clear understanding, because we are living in at a time where there is information overflow, pathological and intimidating overflow. That is the nature of the world we are living, and to get to the bottom of the matter in a situation of tranquility is a challenge for you. You also have, once again, the polity, the economy, you have you have geography, environment, and whatnot. In all these, you have to answer 5,000 words, which means 25 questions or so, 200 words each, or 250 words each. 5,000 words you have to write in a given 3 hours, which is a muscular challenge, which is physical challenge, intellectual challenge, and also emotional challenge. And those who have done that have made it. And like that, 4 papers. General essay is proving to be very volatile. It's 250 marks. Essays you have to write. They can be essays like general studies. Last year there was a question about cooperative federalism, whether it's real or whether it is not real. Also, you can get questions about water disputes. You can get questions about genetically modified organisms. You can